Well, what a way to start, right? We're going to sound the alarms because we're so excited to hear from Coach today. So welcome, welcome. We are so happy to have you here. To those of you joining us on Zoom, a welcome virtually. We have folks all over the country joining us on Zoom, which is wonderful. My name is Tamara Bauer. I work at the Staley School of Leadership and have the great fortune of chairing the What Matters to Me and Why lecture series. This series is designed to invite people into community through storytelling. We know that when we listen and share with one another through stories, we can strengthen the bonds of our K-State community. And we are very excited to be able to hear from Coach Tang, a very important member of our K-State community. I'm going to grab my clicker real quick. Great. Not yet. There we go. So the What Matters to Me and Why lecture series is housed at the Staley School of Leadership and is coordinated with a cross-campus planning committee. If you are a member of our committee, would you please stand or wave so we can recognize you and thank you? Wonderful. This program has started in 2017, and we've hosted almost 30 speakers to date, where we have an opportunity to hear more about the people that we work with, we live with, we teach with, we learn with. And we know that storytelling is a powerful way to take perspectives from other people. And as we listen to other stories, we also have the opportunity to reflect on our own stories. So today, as we have the opportunity to hear from Coach Tang, we invite you to reflect a little more on your story. The lived experiences, the values, the significant moments that have influenced your life to this point. Because as we reflect and as we share our stories, we will grow together in our K-State bond as a community. And as we listen to the stories of what matters to us most, we can also begin to think about the path that we want as we move forward. So without further ado, I am excited to introduce you to Coach Tang via Bailey Bechamp. So Bailey has been a wonderful supporter of Coach Tang and has been wonderful to work with to make this happen, and I'd like to invite her out now to give a quick introduction. Bailey? That's perfect, Tang. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here today. As Tamara said, my name is Bailey Bechamp, and I am the Director of Operations for K-State Basketball, entering my third season as a part of Coach Tang's staff, and feel very thankful to be kept on and a part of a program that I love and is very near and dear to my heart. So, before our staff brings a recruit on campus, we ask ourselves, do they fit our culture? And I imagine that is what our athletic director, Gene Taylor, asked himself as he was making the decision to hire Coach Tang from Baylor. When Coach Tang arrived on campus, the things that he stood for became very clear to me very quickly. His faith is his foundation. Our team will be tough, appreciative, and passionate. When things don't go right, we're going to do the next right thing. Coach Tang encourages and inspires our staff and team to do things that are hard, out of our comfort zone, and also encourages us to make sure that we're not doing things the way they've always been done. So, in my opinion, Coach Tang is the prime example of servant leadership. He constantly is thinking about how to engage with the K-State community, especially with our student population. He even gives out his phone number every year to the incoming freshmen, and it's his real number. He spends his weeknights engaging with student groups on campus and his Saturdays wabashing in the student section. He has a passion that is unmatched for K-State, and so it is my pleasure and honor to introduce to you our head coach, Jerome Tang.
Thank you. Thank you, Bailey. How we doing? Yeah, this is crazy. When they asked me to do this, and I was like, why? Blessed to be here. Thank you so much. I get to live life with some of the best people in the world, and so thankful that God chose me to be in this position at this time for this. They said the goal is to talk about what's important to me, right? And so whenever I make a decision, there are three things that go into it. Number one is God, then my family, and then the job or the ministry, as I call it. And so for me, just the number one thing for me is my faith. And we say that what they call crazy one day, they will call faith another. And in my life, it has just proven out over and over again. So when I was 15 years old, I was in a church service. And you're going to find out that a lot of things happen to me in church, all right? So it's just the way it works. And I was in a church service, and there was this evangelist. And I don't even remember his name, right? I do remember what he looked like. He was about 5'3", about 250 pounds. He wore glasses and was bald, right? And he said that he had given God the first 30 years of his life, all his time, energy, and finances. And he asked God when he turned 30 to send him his wife. And then he introduced his wife. And she was drop dead gorgeous. And I said to myself, man, if God can give him her, then I really need to pay attention to this guy. So that night, I told God, I said, God, I'm going to give you, for the first 30 years of my life, I'm going to give you all my time, energy, and finances. And when I turn 30, I want you to send me my wife. My birthday is October 7th, right? And so it's just in a few days. I am over 50 now, so I just celebrate the whole month. And so I figure I have less birthdays than I've already had. And so my birthday is October 7th. September 7th, 1 month before my 30th birthday, I was introduced to my wife. 6 months later, we were engaged, and 5 months after that, we were married. We've been married for 27 years. And so thank you. It's the faithfulness of God to believe that, all right, God, I'm going to put my faith in you. I'm not going to tell you I didn't date. And I'm not going to tell you I didn't fall in love. I'm just thankful that God made me fall out of love, till I got to the right person, right? Like, it's just his faithfulness. And so when I was 27 years old, and I was still living at home, and I was substitute teaching at the elementary school and working at the YMCA, and I was coaching the Bible quiz team at our church, and once a month I'd have lunch with this guy who was my youth pastor growing up named Mike Allard. And one time at lunch he just said, Jerome, what is it that you really want to do, right? What you going to do with your life? Basically what he said, what are you going to do with your life? At 27, I said, Brother Mike, I want to be the youth pastor at a church that has a Christian school so I can coach the basketball team. 2 days later, Dr. Jennifer Cooper called him. She was the principal of a Christian school in a small town called Cleveland, Texas, of 10,000 people. The school had 120 kids from K through 12. Called him and said, I need a Christian guy who can coach basketball. And so I went up there, he gave her my name, and she called me, and I went up there, and the team sucked. Oh God, they was terrible. They had one guy who could dribble, the rest of them could barely hit the backboard, and I said, nah, there's no way in the world I'm taking this job. They're gonna say this brother can't coach. So I was not doing it. I went home that night, I went to bed. That night in bed, I knew God said, hey, you are taking that job. Because I told my mom I wasn't taking the job. And next morning I got up and I said, this is what God wants me to do. I asked her, Dr. Cooper, if I could come back, went back up there, took the job. And our second year, we won the state championship. We ended up winning 4 state championships. But in our second year, I remember telling my assistant coach, who's one of my best friends, and I said, hey, why can't we turn this into a top 25 program in the country? I'd be one of the top 25 high school programs in the country. Why wouldn't a kid want to come to Cleveland, Texas, to a school that has 120 kids, graduating class was 13, had wooden backboards and no floor, right? It was a cement floor. Why wouldn't the best players in the country want to come to Cleveland, Texas, right? And our last 3 years, we were ranked top 25 in the country. And so what people call crazy one day, they call faith another. And so after not having my degree and not knowing Scott Drew from Adam, right? I remember our state championship, our second year, our state championship, the private school state championships were held at Baylor University. I remember sitting there in the semifinals as our guys was warming up, and I looked around, and I remember telling my friend T, I said, T, man, this is a great place. I said, wouldn't it be cool to coach here? And then I remember looking at him and going, you know what? I'm a coach here one day. And so 10 years later, I'm an assistant coach at Baylor University. I don't have my degree, and I didn't know Scott Drew from Adam, but God put it together. And what they call crazy one day, sitting there before a state championship game and saying, one day I'm going to coach here, and 10 years later, man, they say it's crazy faith, right, that it could happen. And so our first year at Baylor University, I remember telling Paul Mills, who is my buddy, we worked together, he's the head coach at Wichita State, and I remember telling him, hey Mills, one day we're going to be top 25 in the country, and this arena, Farrell Center, is going to be packed. Right? And so every game, as the teams were warming up with 60 minutes to go on the floor, we would stand at half court, and I did it at Bram as an assistant at Baylor, would stand at half court, and I would call recruits. And I'd say, hey, we're on the road right now at K-State, or we're on the road right now at Texas Tech. It's 60 minutes before tip, and I'm calling you because when you're here, we're going to be top 25 in the country. This place is going to be packed, not to see them. They're going to come to see us. Right, and so a few years later, we ranked top 25 in the country. And then I started calling kids and saying, man, one day we're going to be ranked number 1 in the country, and you're going to be here. And a few years later, 2017, we're ranked number 1 in the country for the first time. And then the next 5 years, we were ranked number 1 in the country every one of those years. And I remember telling kids we're going to win the national championship. And I remember Scott Drew saying we're going to win the national championship. And people thought we were crazy. And then when it happens, they called it faith. And we call it crazy faith. And so the first day I walked on campus here at Kansas State, I remember going in the locker room to see the guys, and there was, in the film room, there was 14 guys sitting, 2 walk-ons, 12 on scholarship, I think, at the time. They were sitting there, and I just remember telling them, hey, man, if any of you who stay here, next year at this time, we're going to be in the NCAA tournament. And then in July, when we only had 5 players, and Gene was like, Gene Taylor was like, hey, coach, you know, you need at least 5 to play a game, and you probably need more than that to practice. But we had a vision, we had a plan, we had faith, and people thought it was crazy. But that next March, when we were 3 seed in the NCAA tournament and working our way to the Elite Eight, and then we just call it crazy faith. And I'm just telling you, I firmly believe that we're going to win a national championship, and God's going to give us the platform to do it, and we're going to give him all the honor and the glory, and it's going to happen, and we're going to watch confetti fall from the ceiling, and we're going to have a parade here in Manhattan. But so faith, right? And God's faithfulness to me has been proven over and over again. And then, you know, the next thing is my family, right? So I told, that's my 2 kids, 7 and Island, and that's me and Ray, and that's my parents and her parents. And but it's not just like my immediate family, it's all of our family. So we say about our staff is that we don't work together, we live life together. And one of the things that I tell the guys, our staff all the time, is that if things aren't well at home, they can't be well at the office, right? And I think all of us married folks here understand that, right? We understand that when things aren't going well at home, it's hard for things to go well at the office. But things can go wrong at the office, and then we have a haven to go home if things are well at home. And so one of the things for me as the leader of the program is that things go well at their home. So I spend a lot of time pouring into the wives and to the husbands of our staff. And one of the ways that I do that is, 3-4 times a year, I send them flowers. And for Cole, Bailey's husband, he gets bourbon. But just to thank him, right? To thank him because I understand the sacrifice. When we did our staff retreat, we brought in a marriage counselor to help us, right? And it's not that, like, to me, I was married for a long time before I ever went to a marriage retreat. And because I always thought we'd walk in there and they'd just tell me what a bad husband I was. And I didn't want to go through that. But then I got there and they started talking about all the things that, husbands and wives should do. And I was like, oh, I do that. Oh, I do that. Oh man, I'm good at this. Hey, it was like a coaching clinic, and they said a couple things. I went, you know what? I could add that If I add that, it's going to make us even better. And so we brought in a marriage counselor to give us some thoughts on some things that tell us we're doing a good job, and to say, hey, here's a couple things that you can add, right? We're going to bring in, I'm going to bring in child raising counselors to give us advice, because we've got kids, we got like what, is it like 13 or 15 kids? Reem got another one coming. Yeah, I'm encouraging lots of children. It's a sign of a healthy marriage. Yes. And so, yeah, we're all at different ages. Their kids are different ages, and we can help each other with this, right? And so family, man, like God, family, and you know, and then it's the job, right? And like we say, we don't work, right? We live life together. So our wives, and I'm sure Cole feels this way some too, they don't feel like we go to work, right? They feel like we go have a good time. And I think if you follow Reem on Instagram, and which I advise that you do, if you want to know anything that's going on, just follow Reem on Instagram. Our wives, our spouses follow Reem on Instagram, and then they know where we're at and what we're doing. And when I'm not with him, that's when I get in trouble, because I forget to tell her that I'm doing something, you know. And so, but like, you'll see that we really have a good time. But if you're not passionate and you don't love what you do, quit and go do something else. I'm just telling you, if you don't feel like where you at is the very best place in the world, man, quit and go do it somewhere else, because then you just can't be the best. And we're here because we think it's the best place in the world. And we're here together because we love being with each other. And so for me, it's like I said, it's living life. And they know, our spouses know, and my staff knows, that if there's something that needs to be done, the kids have a game, anything is going on, like family comes first, right? God, family, and then the job. Because we're going to get the job. One of the things that I teach is, and I stole it. So there are two professions, right? Since we're among academic people here, there are two professions that you can plagiarize and not get in trouble. Yep. One is being a pastor. Yeah, there are no original messages, right? There are not, okay? Number two is being a coach. Like, we steal plays from everybody. I say all the time, the smart steal from the strong. So I look and I see who does things really well, and I steal from. So I'm constantly stealing things from other people. And so I stole this, right? Like, you have these 3 balls, right? God gives you these 3 balls, and one of them is your job, right? And that's made of rubber, right? The other one is your relationship with whoever you choose to worship, right? And that's made of clay. And the third one is your relationship with your family, and that's made of glass, right? You can drop the job, the ball, it'll bounce and it'll come back. I'm telling you, it'll be fine. You can drop that. The relationship with your Savior, it's made of clay. You can drop it, and He can put it back together. He can put it back together, right? But that glass ball, with your family, you drop that thing, you may try to put it back together, but it never comes back together whole. It does. There's going to be some splinter, some glass that you're not going to be able to find. It'll never come back together whole. So we focus really hard on not dropping that ball. We can fix the other 2, right? We can fix the other 2, but we can definitely fix the rubber one, right? We can fix the job. But we can't, the other ones are super important. So the relationships that we have, blessed on my group. I've known, Reem, how long have we known each other, 18? Yeah, 18 years. I was his assistant coach on the U.S. Virgin Islands team. And I performed his wedding in his living room, and he was barefooted. Well, it was on FaceTime and everything, you know, Facebook, all his family in the islands. I performed his wedding. Yerk, Coach Malagy, who's our associate head coach, I've known him since he was 18 years old. I was at his wedding, I was at his baptism, I was at his dad's funeral, right? And so, like, Coach Marco Bourne, who's our chief of staff, my son was in his wedding. And so, like, one of the things that was important to me, like people always say, you got to find these really competent people who are elite at what they do and stuff. I say, man, find people who love you, right? You hire people who love you and they'll go the extra mile for you. They'll get good at the other stuff, right? But if they love you, they're going to have your back and they'll support you. And it was real quick to fall in love with Bailey B over here. You know what I mean? She's just elite at what she does, and she loves K-State and in her heart. And so our staff, I mean, just the relationships there. So there's this verse in the Bible that says that, but we glory in our sufferings, right? And so, and that suffering then produces perseverance, and perseverance builds character, right? And then character makes room for hope, right at the end. So this whole adversity struggle thing is something that like is real important. That's like Frederick Douglass said, without struggle there is no progress, right? And so for me as a basketball coach with our players, I'm constantly trying to find ways to put them in situations where they are uncomfortable and they have to struggle, because that struggle is what causes progress. And one of the things we say all the time, and my definition of toughness is the ability to do the next right thing. Things are going to go wrong in life. We are going to mess up. You know what tough people do? The next right thing. Soft people try to make an excuse and cover it up or blame somebody else or do all those other things. Tough people do the next right thing. And we're constantly talking about doing the next right thing. And I do it with the staff. So Bailey B told me, she said, Coach, you can have somebody introduce you, or you can just go up there yourself or whatever. It can be one of your peers, this and that and the other. And at first I said, no, nobody needs to introduce me. I'll just go and do it. Then I thought, she doesn't like to be up in public and talk in front of people. So I'm going to stretch her a little bit, make her uncomfortable and have her grow. And didn't she do an unbelievable job? Man. And so adversity, man, like there's nothing wrong. Like failing is not failure. Failing is not final, and failing is not fatal. Okay, and so we say we either win or we learn. We win or we learn. We don't ever lose. And so there's nothing wrong with that. Like there's just the Dyson, right, vacuum cleaner, right? The guy who invented Dyson vacuum cleaner, he failed at making it 5,320 times. He failed at it. And now it's a $9 billion company. 5,320 times he failed at making a vacuum cleaner. Right? So there's nothing wrong with it. And we need to create adversity for our staff, for the people around us. And going through it is tough people do the next right thing. We come out on the other side better at it. Integrity is a big word, right? Like I just say this to our guys, like, man, how you do everything is how you do anything, right? How you do anything is how you do everything. It's just all the time. How you do anything is how you do everything. If you show up to class on time, right? Like, how do you dress? How do you say hi to people? Just every little thing matters. And when you're trying to win a championship, everything matters and everyone matters, right? So Miss Wanda and Jesus, who cleans our building, they are as important as the kid who's going to play on the court to win in the championship. Right? And so my mom was a custodian for 20 years. And I know how important it was for her that school looked the way it did and how she took care of it. And I know how valuable she was to the teachers and to the principal of the school, what she did for them. And so I understand that everyone matters. And so for us, we needed to know Miss Wanda's name. Right? We need to know about Miss Wanda's family. We need to know Jesus, and Reem thinks he can talk Spanish, so he talks Spanish all the time, with them. But, it's important that they understand their value to what we do, because when a parent and a kid walks in our building, that's what they see, right? What it looks like. And when we have a recruit coming in on Saturday night, and they cleaned Friday morning, but we might need them there on Saturday, and they're willing to go the extra mile to help us because we care about who they are as people, and we understand. We make them understand that they matter and they're valuable to what we do. Everyone, the people who mow the grass, right? So they weren't mowing the grass the way we wanted to, right? And so you know what Reem did? He went and got a lawnmower, and we mowed the grass in front of the building. Well, then they were like, man, you can't be doing our job. They were upset. So then you know what they did? They mowed the grass more often, and we didn't have to do it anymore. There's a standard. How you do anything is how you do everything. And our standard is a championship standard, and we wanted to do it everywhere. We want the guys to sit in the right place in the classroom and address the teachers properly. We want that. How you do it, man, it's just so important that we hold a standard. And then we talk about winning the day. So what does winning the day look like? Okay, so we talk about going 1-0, right? And it's not like 1-0 for the day. It's 1-0 for every aspect of the day, right? So if you get up on time, you went 1-0. You reset it. If you ate a good breakfast, you went 1-0. If you didn't eat a good breakfast, you went 0-1, right? So now you're 1-1 for the day. Right, and if you show up to class on time, you went 1-0. For our players, if they got in there early and got a stretch and got themselves loose before practice, they went 1-0. They had a good practice, they went 1-0. If after practice they went in the cold tub and the hot tub and met with Luke, they went 1-0. If they ate a good lunch after that, they went 1-0. They get to class on time, they went 1-0. And they might lose one, right? They might miss class or show up late, and so they went 0-1. But if at the end of the day we had more 1-0s than 0s and 1s, then we won the day. And then what we try to do is stack days on top of each other. And if we stack days on top of each other, then we just keep getting better. And that's how we get 1% better every day, right? And it's just to focus on the little things, on the little thing. Coleman Hawkins said to me the other day on a podcast, he said, Coach, you seem like you pay attention to details, like little things really, really matter to you. And I told him, yeah, because as a kid, my mom told me that pennies make dollars, right? So I'd walk around, I'd pick up pennies off the floor. Because if you pick up enough pennies, it turns into dollars. And those dollars turn into, and so I want a group of people around me who understand that pennies make dollars and the details really, really matter. Okay? And so that's how we win the day, because we pay attention to the details. Every game, before we go out on the floor, I write these 3 words on the board: love, joy, and freedom. And I really, if you came and hung out with me, I ask recruits this all the time. If I spent 24 hours with you, what are 3 things I would walk away and you'd hope I would say about you? And they tell me. And I said, well, if you spent 24 hours with us, I would hope you'd walk away and say, man, those guys love Jesus, they love their families, and they work really, really hard. And the way we display that is through love, right? There's a lot of ways. Let me tell you, there's a lot of ways to be successful in whatever business you're in and however you lead. There's a lot of different leadership styles. For me, leadership is about service, right? Leadership is about service. It's not about control or authority or power. For me. Right? There's a lot of ways to get to 4. 2 + 2 is 4. 2 × 2 is 4. 3 + 1 is 4. None of them are wrong to get to 4. This is just how we choose to get to 4. Okay, through love. Because I believe people will take a bullet for those they love, not for those they fear. Right? Not for those they're intimidated by. Now they might work hard and be locked in and trying to, but they won't go the extra. They won't go the extra. They'll just do enough to make sure that person doesn't yell at them. And for people you love, there's not extra, right? Is there too much I can ask? B? Can I ever ask too much of you? No. Reem, can I ever ask too much of you? Yeah. See what we have to put up? See what we have to put up with all the time? It's like just this thing, they can never ask too much of me because of the love that we have for each other. Joy for me means Jesus first, others second, yourself last. That's what it means for me. And for our guys, I just want, joy is not happiness. Like happiness comes and goes. Joy is something that just remains on the inside and bubbles over. And in the midst of storms and adversity and all the different crazy things I put him to, it's this thing knowing that, like, man, there's this bubble inside of me that just keeps me going. And I just love being around it. And then finally, freedom. I want our guys to play with freedom, but with freedom comes great responsibility, right? And so every day at practice and every day around the office, the freedom that Reem has to do whatever he needs to do in order to help our program be successful, or Bailey B to tell whoever she wants to, yes, he will speak for you, or no, he won't speak for you. You know, I mean, she has that authority, right? She has the freedom, but it comes with a great responsibility. And the responsibility is she's willing to be held accountable for every action. And same thing with the guys. We hold them accountable every day at practice, right, to do things the right way so that on game night, those 40 nights a year when the lights are on, they can play with freedom and they never have to look over at the bench. And I can be the coach who claps his hands and says, go, 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 because we've worked on it every single day. And so those are the things that are important to me. And I hope that it gets displayed in not just because I say it, but because of how I live it and how we live it together. And I'll answer any questions you guys have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Coach. That was wonderful. We have time for about 15 to 20 minutes to ask questions. Kate and Delshay are back here with a microphone. We would just love for you to introduce yourself before you ask the question, because this is about community and we want to help build that community.
There's one behind you.
Awesome.
Hello, Coach. My name is Cynthia, and I am an instructor in the horticulture department here on campus. And I gave my students an assignment a couple weeks ago to contact someone of an older generation to find out their connection with plants. Yeah. I got a message from one of my students saying, would it be okay if I interviewed Coach Tang? And I said, oh, sure, that's a great idea, thinking no chance. And then she did. And I asked her yesterday in class, how did you make that happen? And she said that you provide your phone number to students.
Yes.
So my question is, how many phone calls do you get throughout the semester, and how do you manage putting your family above the job when you're getting requests from students about your connection with plants during the semester?
Well, let me tell you, first of all, I told the young lady, I said, you're probably not going to like my answers. So I grew up, my mom and dad, they're from Trinidad, and that's where I was born. And gardening is very important to my parents. So important that if it was going to freeze at night, right, she would wake us out of bed to go put blankets on the plants so they wouldn't freeze. I always wondered about that. Like, get your children out of bed, let them go outside and freeze to make the plants be alive, right? I pulled weeds every day of my life, and I promised myself when I became an adult, I would never do yard work. I did, and then I had a son, and he was 9, and he didn't know how to mow the grass, and I was like, man, I'm a bad dad, and so just that whole thing. But it was a lot of fun talking to her. The best thing that I've done being at K-State is giving my phone number out to the students. I get, probably initially you get like 100 text messages and you get some phone calls, but my phone, I get so many of those like people trying to sell you stuff and you block the numbers that they just silence those calls. So what's really fun is the FaceTime calls. And the ones like at 11 o'clock at night when they've been drinking, and it's a group of them together, and they FaceTime, and I'm sitting on the couch with my wife, and then I answer it, and we look at them, they go, ah! And sometimes they'll talk, and sometimes they'll just hang up, and and so those are really, really cool. But what it has really allowed me to do, along with connecting with the students, is they tell me what's going on campus. Coach, we've got this fundraiser going on here. Coach, we've got this happening here. We got this happening here. And so if I'm leaving the office and I'm going home, or, I have 5 minutes, why not stop by, say hi, take a picture, whatever it is. I have 2 kids who are students here at K-State. I hope that if they reached out to someone on campus and said, I need help doing something, that our professors, our staff would in turn help them, and they're not athletes, you know, and so for me, I just know how special our student body is, and when parents drop their kids off, man, they really hope that somebody is going to care about them the way they care about them, and I hope I can provide a little bit of that.
How we doing, Coach?
Doing well.
Long
What's
time
going
no
on,
see.
Coach?
Jerome, I believe, is the name. And I had a question regarding the transition between going from Baylor to Kansas State. Obviously, you mentioned kind of that moment where God was like, hey, here's this opportunity in front of you. Kind of, what was that night like when you got that opportunity, getting called from Gene Taylor, like, hey, you want to come to K-State and be the head coach of a Elite Eight team that led the nation, basically, and just all the fans that just came out of nowhere to join you?
Okay, so the first year was really special, but what the background to it is that I really didn't have a piece about it, about the job. And this dude right here was doing a whole bunch of research, right? He's at North Texas, they're in the NCAA tournament. Coach Urick's at Texas, they're in the NCAA tournament. And they're both calling me as they're preparing for the NCAA tournament going, Coach, you gotta take the job. Coach, you gotta take the job. Yeah, so what really intrigued me was when he told me that that I would be the first black head basketball coach in Kansas State history. And it would make me a trivia question, right? So my kids and my grandkids could always say, hey, my grandpa, my dad, you know, and so that was very intriguing to me. And then on that Sunday morning when Gene Taylor and the group came to my house, I really didn't have a piece that morning either. And Ray and I prayed, and then we sat down, and the first question they asked, this is crazy, that the first question they asked me was, Coach, do you have any apprehensions about the job? And I was like, yeah, I do. And I said, how is the fan base going to handle having a black man as the face of one of the two biggest programs on campus, right? The town of Manhattan. And it was really a question for me. And I'm sitting in my living room. You have to understand, I'm sitting in my living room, and I have 5 white men that are sitting in my living room, and I have to convince them that I can be the head coach here, right? And there's a barrier there that exists. I mean, it's just is what it is. And well, one of the young guys, Josh, he said, Coach, my wife had the same question when we got here, but she has really been received well. And I don't remember anything else he said. All I knew was, hey man, he's married to a black girl. And, and I got this piece over me, and then we just got to talk about basketball. So that's really what happened there.
Hi, Coach. My name is Ella Arns. I was wondering, do you have any advice for anyone who might be trying to overcome some kind of adversaries, especially relating to academics and potential careers?
Okay, so Ella?
Yes.
Right? And you're asking advice as you're trying to pick a career, but there's some obstacles in the way? All right, fail. Go. Yeah, don't be afraid to fail. Ella, how old are you?
19.
Oh, girl, man, go big. Go big. It doesn't matter. And don't listen to people who tell you you can't do anything. Try it, and you're going to either be successful, you're going to learn something from it. But you got a long time. You don't have to be perfect, right? Life is not perfect, right? Mistakes are made, and we learn, and we keep going. But you know, the biggest mistake, like I tell you, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? So shoot the ball. Shoot the ball.
We have a couple questions from our people on Zoom.
Yes.
So Sherry Harms from the Student Access Center asks, what has been the most difficult thing or time for you at K-State, and how did you overcome that?
Okay, so Sherry?
Yes.
Sherry, the toughest thing is changing mindsets, right? Changing mindsets. So sometimes when people have been a certain place for a certain period of time, or they've only experienced certain things, they can't see past their experiences. And so to get the mindset changed, and so Bailey mentioned something in the introduction that I don't like when people say this is how we've always done it, or this is what we've always done. And I don't like when people say it's good, why should we change it, right? And there's this book that good is the enemy of great, right? And so I'm constantly like, how can we do it better? And just because we've always done it doesn't mean that it's right. And so having to change mindsets, that's the thing. And how I just keep plugging ahead and don't let them stop me, and step on toes, speak the truth in love. That's what I try to do. So I don't always do it in love, but I try to speak the truth in love.
Hello, my name is Ricardo Box. I am a freshman mechanical engineer. My question is regards to like how do I explain this? Your bond with your athletes. What exactly drives that bond? And in terms of pride and in terms of like what drives those athletes? What do you share in common, and what would you say to athletes that are trying to achieve more and
Gotcha.
greater?
Good question, Ricardo. So how do I connect with them and how do I drive? Well, one of the things, I think it definitely helps that we look alike. All right, that definitely changes some of the barrier right there. The other thing is that I try to be as transparent as possible. Okay, so I make mistakes. I'm not perfect. I make bad decisions at times, and when I mess up, I'm pretty good at standing up in front of people going, hey man, fellas, I screwed up. I messed this practice up. That wasn't the right thing I did. I got on you at practice about something and I was wrong when I went and watched the film. And so the fact that I can be transparent like that, I think it disarms them. But one of the things, like for me, it is really important that I form a heart connection with our guys. And if I can form a heart connection, then we can get past all the other things. Because if they know that they can trust me and that I love them, right, then that usually disarms them. And so Reem does a really good job of making sure that every couple weeks I'm spending at least 15 minutes with each guy talking about things that have nothing to do with basketball. And so sometimes we go on walks in the parking lot. Sometimes they just come over my house and we sit on the porch and we talk, and just different environments where it's not always in my office, because sometimes we have tough discussions in the office, and so every time they get called there, they think it's going to be a tough discussion, and so we try to do it in different places to build that relationship and that connection. But time equals love, and so you spend time with people you love, and so we have to make time to spend it with them.
Hey Coach, my name's Tim. I'm the editor of K-Stater Magazine, the Alumni Association's university magazine. And I've got a question for you. What are you watching? What are you reading? What are you listening to?
Oh wow, man, that's a good question. Okay, so right now I am listening to On Time God. Like anything, so there's any songs right now by Elevation Worship or Maverick City and Pastor Mike Jr. that deal with God being on time for us, and that we don't have to worry, right? Because this summer my mom spent 8 weeks in the hospital, and I thought her birthday was August 22nd. And 3 weeks before that, I didn't know she'd make her birthday. It was a really, really tough time, and I needed that message from God, that is on time God. I am reading Do the New You by Pastor Stephen Furtick. And so that's why, and then I listen to Corporate Competitor podcast. That's probably the one I listen to the most, as frequently as it comes out. It's about leadership and just different forms of, from people from different CEOs of different companies. And the guy who does it does a great job with it. Yes?
My name is Mary. I'm retired K-State communicator. And my question for you is, you live your Christian faith very openly. And I want to know if you've ever been met while here with any opposition to that or intimidation, and if so, how do you handle that?
Yes, thank you for the question, Mary. I can't say that I've been met with any strong opposition, but we've been winning, so You know, think if we have a downturn, there might be some people that come out the woodwork, so, you know, that kind of thing. But you know, for me, this is my faith and my relationship, and I can't help but speak, you know, for what God's done for me. But what I try not to do is press it on our players or anyone around me. I just believe that if we love one another, right, regardless of how we believe or how we vote or, you know, what we look like, then, you know, we make this place a better place. And then if through me loving them in the way I love them, they want to know more about my relationship, I'm more than happy to share it with them because, you know, it's just what I feel I've been called to do. Thank you for your question.
Hey, Coach, over here. My name is Austin. I'm a freshman in engineering here. And this offseason, there was a lot of talk and speculation with, you know, some other jobs opened up. Arkansas specifically, people talked that maybe you would take a job elsewhere. And what was the biggest thing that kept you in Manhattan versus taking another job where maybe you could have made more money or something like that?
Full transparency is that people, like, unfortunately in this business, people don't give you a raise until they're worried about losing you, right? And that's just what happens. So we have to, my agent tells me, I don't care what you're thinking, don't say it out loud, okay? So that was my agent. But I was actually sitting in the car by myself. My wife was in an event at the Final Four. I was supposed to interview with Arkansas the next day or talk to them, and my agent had told me it was my job, you know, if I wanted it. And I sat in the car and I said, okay, God, I need you to tell me. Like, I need an answer right here. And then I just went through my checklists, right? God first. Well, I'm taking him wherever I go, so I'm okay there. Family second. Well, I made my son transfer from Baylor to K-State. Right? And this is his last year here at K-State. If we transfer again, he would lose more credits. It just wasn't good. My daughter's here at K-State. I had just moved my parents from Florida to Manhattan. And I was like, well, you know, really, is this good for my family? And it wasn't good for my family. And so once I got to that, I was good. I was, okay, God, I got it. And so then I knew, like 3 or 4 days before that I wasn't going, even though there was stuff going on. But my agent wouldn't let me say it, so I had to be quiet. And Bailey had to take all those phone calls and stuff. But I mean, look, I like, for me, it's always been, God, just like, I don't need a lot of options, right? I'm not good if I have a lot of choices. Just close every other door and just give me one door. Right? Like, just like when it's time to eat, just give me one option. If you give me 3, I'm gonna be confused. Right? Just give me one, you know. And so that's what I asked God to do in my life. Just give me one, and so that's what He did. Made it very easy for me.
Hello, my name is David Allington. I work for the College of Arts and Sciences, and I'm also on the committee for What Matters to Me and Why. Thank you so much for doing this. This program is really important to me. I think I know the answer to my question from listening to you. I also rudely got on my phone and read your bio to see if I could get the answer there. And I want to preface it by saying something that might not be popular in this environment, and that is that I don't believe that college is the right path for everyone. And I think I gathered correctly that you are not degreed, that you don't have a degree. And would you speak to that? Am I right?
No, you're not right about that, but I want to say I didn't get it till I was 40, right? So I went to college, thought it was summer camp, you know, kind of did some things, then kind of floated around a little bit, got the job coaching basketball, being the youth pastor at the church, and I started thinking, you know what, man, I probably need to get this degree, and but I just really couldn't afford it, you know, and had some credits, you know, obviously because I'd been at school and I was close, but you know, every year degree stuff changing, and then when I went to Baylor, Coach Drew hired me without the degree and said it will help you. So 2 years at Baylor, then I started taking some online stuff, and I took 30 hours at Baylor while I was working. And so I would go to work during the day, 10 o'clock at night, go back to the office, work on schoolwork from 10 to 2 in the morning, go home, sleep, come back, do it all over again. And so in 2007, I got my degree from Charter Oak State College in Connecticut, an online school. And it took me a long time to get it, and I'm thankful that I did it. And I agree with you that college may not be for everybody. I just know the discipline that it takes in order to get the degree is really the most important thing. It's not necessarily because we got some, I don't, the discipline of it, you don't appreciate what you're learning right now until later on in life. But the discipline of doing it is really good. And I admire those who can do it in 4 years and quicker than I did. But I am thankful that I was able to get it done.
Perfect. We have a couple more questions on Zoom. Oscar has asked, what does success mean to you?
Ooh. What does it mean or what does it look like?
He just said, what does success mean to you?
Man, so when I get like the phone call from Zach Amundsen, who was a manager for me at Baylor and then a grad assistant, and he's now working for the Phoenix Suns, and he's a scout there. And the very first day he was at practice, he tried to jump in a drill as a manager to help me throw passes, and I told him, "Hey man, get out of here, you're too little," right? But he showed up the next day, and he was even more determined to be a part of it. And now he's the head scout for the Phoenix Suns, and he calls and he says, "Hey coach, I'm getting married. Will you do my wedding?" That's success to me. When Chuck and Lucy call me and they say, "Hey, we want you to do our wedding." When people call you and they say, "Coach, man, this is what's going on with my marriage right now and my life, and I need some advice, and what's your thought about this next career move?" That's success for me. I see a guy like Royce O'Neal who went to Denver out of high school and then transferred to Baylor, and he spent 2 years with us and then went overseas and played. Now he's in his 8th season with the Phoenix Suns, and you see what he's able to do for his family and stuff, and the great guy that he is. That's success to me. And now seeing Marquise and Keontae living out their dreams. So it looks differently, but it's what the guys do after they leave here that really is what I deem as success.
All right, I think this will have to be our last question. I know there's lots of hands, and we love this conversation, but I want to be respectful of our time. So last question, please.
All right, my name is Perry Royal. I'm studying kinesiology, and I'm actually from New Orleans, so I'm a long way from home. And I wanted to ask you, how did you deal with just, being, in an unfamiliar environment and, the culture around here?
Yeah. New Orleans. Hey, you gotta come see us. We got a lot of people from New Orleans on staff. Reem's wife is from New Orleans. Coach Marco's from. Now you really from New Orleans? Which ward? Okay. All right. You right there. All right. I got a question for you. Is the Popeyes better in New Orleans than anywhere else? Yeah. That's what they tell me too. I spent a lot of time in New Orleans recruiting, but listen, man, you gotta get connected with people, right? And they're people. You just saying that. I'm just telling you, next time we have food, get his number, right? So we can get this dude some good gumbo. Huh? Yeah, you didn't take my number down when I gave it out to the freshmen? No, I gotta get it. Okay, all right, yeah, just so we can, because this is a family, right? And, it's amazing, man. I tell you, that like I said, people don't have to look like you. They don't have to talk like you. They have to, if you open your heart to them, and they'll open their heart to you, it'll make you feel like home. And as I tell you, come by the office. We'll make you feel like home. You get you some good food. All right, kinesiology major. You want to go into coaching?
I'm thinking about maybe athletic training. I'm trying to do all of the above,
Okay. My daughter's in athletic training. So, yeah. Now, don't have no thoughts about that either.
Can we please share our greatest appreciation with Coach Tang? Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know how you all are feeling, but I'm feeling more centered, more grounded, and ready to walk into my day with a lot of joy and hopefully share that love. Thank you all so much for joining us. Please grab a cookie on the way out, grab any swag, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.